Hi, good evening, everyone. I hope I'm audible to all of you. Yeah. I'm just connecting to the other device. Just 1 minute. So, hi, good evening, everyone. I hope I am audible to all of you. Actually, I'm not able to see the comments. I'm just connecting on the YouTube channel so that I can see the comments as well. Just give me 1 minute. Okay, so please confirm if you can hear me clearly. And I hope there's no echo or anything in the voice. Please confirm if you can hear me clearly. Yeah, so I'm able to check on YouTube that I'm able to listen to my voice clearly. So I think that sorts the problem. Let's now start and work with the session for today. Now, today we are going to talk about on day two, we are basically, okay, is the echo coming? No, it's absolutely clear because I'm listening to this on another device and I can hear there's no echo at all. Okay. Anyways, so before we proceed, for all those who've been working with the dataset or want to work with the dataset along with me during the session, it has been uploaded on the Notion doc. Please check it in that all-in-one documentation. Anam has just updated that. Okay, so now I'm going to just go ahead and start with the day two concept. So let's look at what do we have in terms of day two. So just 1 minute. Okay, so in day two, we are going to talk about the understanding of data models, creation of relationships. So I'll just share my screen so that you're able to see it clearly. Okay, so I think my screen has been shared and you should be able to see what we have. So in day one, we talked about why Power BI is required, what are the various components of Power BI, how do we set up Power BI, what does the interface look like. We also spoke about importing data from different sources. Okay. Now I'm going to take you. So we also connected to the data and we did work with the data. So let's go back and look at the data source that we're going to be working with. So I'll just open up my. So this is the file that I saved it as GSS analysis. The reason is because I'm using this global superstore data that I will be working with. Now, as I did mention that we are working with an Excel file and this is more of a flat file. The reason it's a flat file because all the data is there in one single file for working with it. So in the second session, that's in today's session, what I'm going to do is okay, so everyone, please make sure you don't spam the chat because again, it's a request. The reason is because I may miss out any important questions that you're putting across. And if you are putting across important questions and you people keep spamming, then I may just kind of overlook those questions. So please check the folder. So a lot of people are asking, where is the file? Where is the file? So please go and check the files that I've uploaded or I've shared with Anam. She's uploaded it on the Notion doc. So there are 4 files that you will be getting access to. Okay. So one is the printer sales, and I'll tell you what exactly those files are. So the files are, these are the 4 files. So you have access to this AW dataset, global superstore dataset, printer sales dataset, and sample superstore dataset. So these are the 4 files that you will get access to. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover the topics that are there. As I did mention, it may not be exactly in the same sequence, but the important thing is it's going to be there for you to understand. I'll be covering all the topics and I'll try to cover some of the topics using a particular case study. And these are all going to be hands-on training. So it's basically going to be more of a hands-on training and how do you work with that. So first and foremost, yesterday we did start off with the global superstore data. So the global superstore data is a flat file, and I'll tell you why again, because some people did explain did ask me what is a flat file. So this is a flat file. You've got all your data in one single file or in one single sheet. You've got row ID, order ID, etc. All this information is available in the data. Now, when you look at data, basically there are 2 kinds of categorization of data. So data is normally categorized into 2 parts, or you can say into 2 types basically. The first one is categorical data. Now, categorical data can also sometimes be referred to as data which is qualitative in nature. So qualitative data. And the other kind of data that you would deal with is continuous data. Now, these are some basic theoretical concepts that you need to remember. And this is also sometimes referred to as quantitative data. Okay. So when you look at data, whenever it is a non-numerical field, always remember it will always be a categorical field or a column. So remember, columns, fields, and variables, these are the same thing. Okay. So whenever I use the word column, fields, variables, these are all interchangeable terms. And on the other hand, rows, records, or observations, these are the same thing. So please remember that when I use these words, they refer to rows. Okay. Well, coming back to the categorical continuous data. Now, when you talk about, yeah, so I think I'm just going to take the questions very quickly. TechG, you had asked this question yesterday as well, and I did repeat it yesterday as well. You can, as an art student, make a career in data analysis and data science. So please, for now, do not keep asking this question again and again because I've already explained it. Sai Prakash, can you please explain how to select or import the data in the Power BI? So yesterday I had already shown you how to import the data. Please go back to yesterday's recording and have a look at it. But in the next session, in the next case study or the next data set that I will be importing, you will anyways get a chance to have a look at it. So please be patient till then. Okay. And when you get an answer to your question, I request all of you to please put a heart or an emoji that does mention that you have received an answer to the question, or something that indicates that your question or query has been answered. Okay. So I'm going to try to keep uh, answering questions in between, but I will not be focusing only on the questions. Otherwise, it may cause a delay in our entire training. Okay. So I would request all of you, and I would, kind of, yeah, thanks, Sai Prakash. I would request all of you to please focus on learning rather than, spamming the chat and causing inconvenience to the others as well. Okay. And please maintain the decorum of the training. Thank you. So whenever you deal with a non-numerical field, it is going to be a categorical field. Now, when I say non-numerical, this is basically the characteristics of your data, like gender, not age, sorry, gender, then area or location you live in, product category, anything which is non-numerical. But there are certain fields that are numerical, but they belong to the categorical class of data or categorical side of the data. Now, I'll explain which of them and why. Now, what is a continuous field or a continuous variable or a column that contains continuous data? Anything that is numerical in nature, but there's a exception to it, but it should be mathematically, or you should be able to apply mathematics to it, or you should be able to apply aggregation to it. So let's not put maths, let's just use the word aggregated. That means I should be able to aggregate it at the average level or some level, etc. For example, revenue, I can take a total, it makes sense. I can take an average, it makes sense. Okay. Age, a lot of people say age, if you take the total it doesn't make sense, but look at it when you take the average. When you take the average, it does make sense. So keep that thing in mind. Okay. Now, which are those numerical fields that don't make sense, okay, when they are aggregated? For example, row ID. Row ID is an identification of every row. If I take a total of it, doesn't make sense. Roll number doesn't make sense. Aadhaar number, again, it's a number, but it is not a continuous data. So anything which is numerical and can be aggregated is going to be continuous. Anything which is numerical but cannot be aggregated, not possible to aggregate, or doesn't make sense when aggregated, it is called as a categorical field. Okay. Very quickly, all of you, now since you've understood this, yes, I want everyone to put one field which is categorical and one field which is continuous. So write categorical hyphen and the name of the field, and one write continuous and the name of the field according to you. Any data set, anything from a real life example. Okay. I will continue with the session, but you quickly give me something in the chat so that I know that you've understood what's actually going on. So we are going to try and keep this interactive. I'll keep asking you questions. I'll keep putting across certain challenges to you, and then you will need to respond to it. Okay. Now here you can see row ID is numeric in nature, but it is categorical because it doesn't make sense when aggregated. On the other hand, even postal code is numeric, but it does not make sense. Okay. Then you've got all these metrics or KPIs of the business. KPIs basically mean key performance indicators. So when you say KPI, KPI indicates, or KPI means key performance indicator. So remember, a key performance indicator is something that you monitor. Every business monitors a key performance indicator. Wonderful, guys. I can see a lot of people putting in their responses. Thank you. A good effort from all of you. In fact, thumbs up to all of you. And you can pat your backs because you're doing a wonderful job. Okay, good. Now let's move ahead. And please do share this with all your friends, and please ask them to join this bootcamp. It is a wonderful opportunity for you to learn something completely new. If you're completely new also, it's not difficult. Let me tell you, a lot of people talk about learning Power BI in maybe 2 days, 3 days, or 2 hours, 3 hours. It's not that simple, but it's not very difficult as well. You need to apply your mind to it. You need to understand some basic concepts of data, and that is going to sort things for you. Anyways, let's move ahead and let's understand how we are going to analyze this data. So if you see all these fields, that is your, um, if I just scroll to the right, you will see all these fields that you have, your sales, quantity, discount, profit, and shipping cost. These are all the KPIs in your business. So basically, you can call them as KPIs, or you can call them as business metrics. Now, why are these business metrics? They are business metrics because they help you to understand what's happening in the business and how is your business performing. So whenever you want to look at the performance of your business, you need to analyze these numbers and see, based on a benchmark that you set, how well or how bad you are actually doing. So anyways, let's go into the Power BI file now. So I've already imported this data and performed some very basic transformation on the data. Now I'm going to directly jump into the Power BI file. So this was just to give you an overview of what a flat file looks like. Let's go back to our Power BI file. Now here in Power BI, I have got my entire data, and you can see in the data pane, I've got the different fields available in it. Now, remember that there is something called as a hierarchy in your data. Now, I may be jumping a little ahead in time in terms of what needs to be explained right now, but I'm explaining this because you can see that with order date and ship date, there is a arrow that you can see here, which basically indicates that you can further expand into it and go down to different levels in terms of order, in terms of the quarter and the year, etc. So I'll explain what this is later on, but for now, please remember this is a hierarchy in your data. Okay, now coming to the next important aspect of dealing with the data. So first and foremost, we've already loaded the data, and now we need to go about with the data modeling, or the um, data model concept of working with hierarchies, etc. So we do have certain topics that we need to cover here, and I think we need to look at. So I'm just looking at what are the topics that are there, because I just need to know whether hierarchies is mentioned. So hierarchies are not here, but I will explain what hierarchies are and how you work with it. So first and foremost, let us understand what is a data model in Power BI, or let's understand. So what Microsoft has done, they have replaced the term data model with the term semantic model. Okay. So it's called as a semantic model. Now, when you talk about a data model or a semantic model, there's a very important thing that you need to understand, that all your data, whatever data you have, okay, is going to be part of the data model. Along with it, all the relationships that you create, all the properties that you change, etc., everything that you do is going to be a different, is going to be part of your data model. Okay. So here you can see right now I'm using a flat file. So I will not be having any relationships because I don't have multiple tables in it. So for now, let's not talk about relationships. I will talk a little bit about how to work with hierarchies and work with the data. So first and foremost, let's say I'm interested as a business owner, I'm interested in my total sales, because sales happens to be one of the most important KPIs of any business. So the moment you set up a business, your first thing is going to be how much sales am I getting, or what is the profit that I'm getting. Okay. So here what I can do is I can start off with the sales. So when I click on sales, it automatically creates something called as a KPI card. Okay, this is a KPI card. Now, this is because we have activated something called as on object interaction. Okay. Now, when you say on object interaction is on, it basically means that whenever you select a field, okay, in your, or whenever you select a particular field in your data pane, and you have already got a visual or you don't have a visual, depending on what field you select, automatically the visual will be created for you. Now, let me give you an example. But before I do that, let me go to the data view or the table view, and let me look at the data that I have. So I've got some data here, and I'll scroll to the right. This is where I have got all the columns. Now, the important thing here is that when I deal with this data, I can see that sales, then profit and shipping cost, these actually need to be set up into a dollar formatting. Now, there are two things that you can do. One is you can set it up here, but I will go back to the home tab and I will go to the transform data option where I will be able to open up the Power Query editor. Now, in the Power Query editor, yeah, I need to make a change to this. So that's because I was using my laptop. So I need to make a change to the path here. That's okay. I'm just going to go to data source settings. And here I'm going to change the path. So I'll change the source and I will navigate to the source that I need to work with. So my source is this. Let's quickly just paste the path here and connect my global superstore data file. Click OK, click close, and I can go and refresh the preview. So that's sorted. Anyways, now here you can see I've got all my data. I can just scroll to the right. So I've got row ID. Row ID I'm going to change to text because I don't want it to be aggregated. Order ID will remain as it is. It's already text. Date is a date, so I leave it as it is. Ship date is again a date. Then everything else is text. I can scroll to the right, and then here I see my sales, quantity, discount, profit, and shipping cost. So these are all the key performance indicators, or basically the metrics of my business. Now for the sales and profit and shipping cost, I need to change them into something called as a fixed decimal number. So if I click this data type drop down, I will be able to select which data type I want to set it up for. So if I want to do it for a single column, I can select the column. I can click this button here and I can change it from here. Or else what I can do is I can select the first column, then hold down the control key and select the remaining columns together. Now what I do is I can right click on any one of these fields and click on this change type option. Now, when I click on change type, I can scroll down and change it to a fixed decimal number. The moment I change it to a fixed decimal number, you will notice that I've got this dollar symbol indicating that this is now going to be treated as a dollar formatting. But it does not mean that when I open the file, it's going to be in dollars. It is going to be in rupees for me. The reason is because I'm currently using the Indian formatting standards here. Okay. Now comes the quantity. I leave it as it is as a whole number. And then the discount. So I can change the discount to a percentage. So I can change it to percentage. And here you can see the entire data is now changed to a percentage. Now, once I have completed all the transformations that I need to do, I can click on close and apply. So when I click on close and apply, I will be having the option to load the data to the data model. Okay. And I can go back to my report view. So once I'm in the report view, I have my sales data put in here. I can remove it and add it back again. Okay. Also, what I can do is I can select my sales and I can set it up to a dollar formatting. So when I do that, it gives me the currency with dollars. Now, all this that we are doing, we have changed the data types, we've changed we've updated everything with respect to the appropriate data. Okay, I'm just looking at the questions now. So what is KPI, Nikhil? I have already mentioned it is key performance indicator or business metric. Just 1 minute, just 1 minute. Yeah, I'm sorry for that slight delay. Okay, so here uh, there was a question about the key performance indicator. So key performance indicator, basically, as I mentioned, it is the business metric that is used to monitor your business. So when I say I've got 12.64 million sales, now based on what you've invested and what you've worked with, you will look at this as more of a, you'll compare it with that. So once you know that, okay, you're making this kind of money or this kind of sales is coming in, that becomes a key performance indicator for you, which indicates how your business is performing. So there are certain metrics of the business that help you to identify whether the business is doing well or not. Okay, so there's another question coming in from Beauty's help. How to understand which column needs to be converted like decimal to text, etc. See, when you say you are talking about conversion of data from one type to another, it needs to, one, you need to know the business, you need to understand business terms like revenue, cost, profit. All these are something to do with currency. They're all talking about money. So when they're talking about money, you need to convert it into a fixed decimal number, because that gives you more accuracy in terms of the calculation. Second thing, when you're dealing with something which is a part kind of thing, like for example, quantity, which is in liters, which can be in decimals, you convert it to decimal. Like our case, in our data that we have right now, we have whole numbers, because a table cannot be sold as 1.5. So all that needs to be applied. You need to apply common sense for all those things as well. And also you need to understand how you're going to go about with the data. Okay. So first and foremost, understanding when we are talking about the key performance indicators and the data that we are dealing with, this is how you work with it. Okay, now uh, Bhagya Anand, I don't know which file you're actually looking at. So if you're looking at that file for Global Superstore, it's only the orders sheet that you will be taking up. Yesterday, I had already covered it. We are only looking at the orders sheet. Okay, guys, please put a reply or a heart symbol or something that indicates your query has been answered. Okay, please, everyone. Okay, so I've got this total sales now. Now, since I've done it for once, I've done it. Now, what I need to do, I will go back to the table view, and here I'm going to go ahead and change it for the others as well, because I don't want to do it every time I use it. So I'll select profit and I will select shipping cost. Now here you will have to do it one by one. So whenever you select a column here, it's not like Excel where you can go and change cell wise. It's the column that you will be working on. So go to this column tools tab, and here we will change it to a dollar formatting. The same thing I'm going to do for shipping cost as well, dollar formatting. Discount will be percentage, so I can change it here to percentage. And for quantity, it's a whole number. I'll leave it as it is, but you can go here and change it from here as well. So I think we've sorted things out for all the numbers that we are going to be dealing with in case of the data. So I'll go back to my report view. Now, another question coming in from Pawan Kumar: how will we know KPI for different data sets? See, as a beginner, you may find it a little difficult to work with it. So I would recommend that first and foremost, work with data that you're familiar with, especially data which is pertaining to sales, finance, etc., wherein you know or you're familiar with the data set and you know exactly what is going to be the KPI. In fact, if you go online and you search, if you go to Chat GPT or something, you can search for KPIs based on industry. For example, like if you're dealing with customer attrition, or you're dealing with customer data, you can deal with all those KPIs. You can search for the different KPIs in the different businesses. If I come across a very good KPI indication for different KPIs in different industries, I will surely share it on my LinkedIn profile. So please connect with me on LinkedIn, and you can keep following me on LinkedIn for all that information as well. Anyways, so now what we are going to do, so for some people, it may be showing up as a bar chart. Now, the reason why it's showing up as a bar chart is because on object interaction has not been activated for you. That needs to be activated from the file, and under options and settings, you go to options. And from here, you will need to go to the security options here under the global options, and you will need to set up the use map and field map options. Also, you will go to the preview features, and from here you will activate the on object interaction feature, this one, and also activate this shape map visual for all the maps and the map based charts to be created perfectly for you. Anyways, now let's get back to our data. So now I need to go ahead and I need to break down this data, or I need to analyze this data further. So I know that, okay, well and good, I've got 12.64 million sales. But again, I need to know which product categories are giving me how much sales. So what I'm going to do is, I have got a field called category. I'll just click on this checkbox category. But please remember, when I'm working with this visual, I have to have this visual selected. If I don't want this visual to be updated with whatever I'm doing, I will click in the white space, and then when I click on any field, it will automatically create another visual for me. So for now, I'll just delete this visual. This was just to show you what happens when you don't keep the visual selected. So I'll keep this visual selected, and I'm going to click on category. Now, the moment you click on category, you will notice that the total 12.64 million have been broken down into different areas. Okay. So you have now technology, furniture, and office supplies. Now, once we've got this data analyzed, we need to further look at how is each category being broken down into subcategories. So first and foremost, when this kind of a breakdown of data or breakdown of the metric takes place, what we are essentially doing is we are using the continuous variable, and then we are breaking down that continuous variable using a categorical variable. Now, this is where I'm going to introduce you to two very, very important concepts. Please keep this in mind. Okay. I'll take you to the whiteboard, and here we are going to talk about how to work with the different concepts of categorical variables being broken down into the the continuous variables being broken down based on categorical variables. So let's say we've got $16.5 million of total sales. Now, what did I select to get the 16.5 million? I selected the sales data, or the sales column. Now, this sales column is actually a continuous variable. Okay. Now, this continuous variable is going to control the this continuous variable is going to control the aggregation in your data. That means what is going to happen to that total sales. So it's actually giving you a sum of the sales. Okay. Obviously, you can change the measure later on, but your continuous variables are going to control the aggregation of the data. Now, the moment I added category, what happened is your visual changed from a KPI card visual to a bar chart, wherein it broke down the data into three different parts: technology, furniture, and office supplies. Now, these are the three categories or three levels in your data. Okay, please remember, when I use the word categories in your data, it does not always mean product category, because let's say I'm using a field called gender. I may have male and female. These are two categories in the data, male and female. Okay, so please keep that thing in mind. Anyways, now coming back to the example that we're dealing with. Now, when this category was added to the visual, what it did is it broke down this data. So what category is? Category is a categorical variable which is controlling the granularity of the data. Now, the word granularity basically indicates something called as the detail in your data. The more categorical variables you add, the more details you will get of your data, the more fine-tuned details you will get. Okay. And you normally use a continuous variable which is going to help you to aggregate your data, and that aggregated data will be broken down based on the categorical variable that you're dealing with. Is everyone clear till now? Is everyone clear? Okay. So I can see a lot of people are asking questions on what basis will we do this, on what basis will we do that. See, beauties help. remember, when you're dealing with data, okay, when you're dealing with all this, I also started off really with basics. But more important than understanding the tool, how it works, for you to be a successful data analyst or a business analyst, you need to have basic business knowledge. Okay. Now, obviously, when you say which to put on x axis and which to put on y axis, remember, when you're dealing with the data, when you're dealing with a BI tool, the BI tool intelligently creates it for you. In addition to that, always when you're working with data, you need to first at the background understand what kind of visualization you need to work with. So there's an entire guide that is there with respect to which visual to choose when, that is available. If I do have the option of, if I do have the opportunity, I will share that with you, and there you will discuss and understand how you can create or work with your visuals. So I'm not going to get into a lot of details in that, otherwise we won't really be able to cover all the topics that we are actually working with. Anyways, so I did mention that the categorical fields are responsible for the details and the continuous fields are responsible for the aggregation. Okay. So keep this thing in mind. Next time when I ask you what is actually happening, you need to tell me what's happening with the data. When I add a field, which field am I adding? What am I doing? How am I breaking down the data? Now here, when I break down the data of about 12 million, what I'm doing is I can either break it down horizontally or I can break it down vertically. Now, when I break it down horizontally, I am slicing my data. And when I break it down vertically, I am dicing my data. Okay. So slicing and dicing of the data is entirely dependent on what variable. What variable is responsible for slicing and dicing of data? Pavan, can categorical variables are breakdown based on continuous variables? Remember, continuous variables will break down the categorical variable. That's exactly what I was explaining, Pavan. Okay. So please respond to this question of mine. Can slicing, which variable is responsible for slicing and dicing of the data? Quickly, come on. Give me a response to this question. So put it in the into the chat box or into the live chat. I will be having a look at that. Okay, so when you slice and dice your data, you are basically further analyzing your data. Now, in this case, you can see no Rajguru. Uh, Karthik, for any queries regarding the certification for the last program, please connect with the admin team. Please do not put anything with respect to the certification or anything. Please connect directly to the certification team or the admin team. I'm just the facilitator here. Okay. So remember, slicing and dicing is done by the categorical variable. If you remember, what I did is I added the sales data, and then that sales data, after that, I added the category field. So the sum of sales is broken down into the different categories because of category, which happens to be a categorical field. Okay. Please remember this. Slicing and dicing is done by the categorical data or categorical fields. Okay. Anyways, now let's move ahead. Now here, once I've selected my, once I've set up my, data, what I need to also do is, now here you can see based on what visual has been automatically created. If you want, you can go ahead and use the visual library and change the visuals that are there, whichever visual you want to create. But you also have this area once you select the visual that allows you to update data and put in the legend or small multiples. Now let me show you what happens when I put something in the legend area. So for example, I have got something called as segment. Okay. Now I'm going to drag. Normally, if I click on segment, it will automatically go to the legend and it will show you further breakdown. So you can see I added the segment field and it automatically broke down the technology into three segments: consumer, corporate, and home office. And the segment is now being shown as a legend. So please understand, my y-axis right now contains the category field, which is basically showing you the three different categories. The x-axis contains the numerical field or the continuous field, which is actually the sales, and the legend. Now, when I say legend, legend is basically these three colors that you see. So when there is only one single categorical field, you will see only one bar. The moment you add one more categorical field, that bar will be broken down into three different bars. But there is a difference in the way you deal with it. I'll show you what is the difference in a few minutes from now. Then you've got something called as small multiples. Now I'll show you how to use this area as well. Now I'm just dealing with one visual for now. There's an entire gallery of visuals. Okay. So these are basically called as the buckets or the wells of the data. Now this is where Power BI is far more, better, or it's much more easy to work with than Excel. Now the small multiples will allow you to break down this entire single graph into different small graphs when you add it. So let me show you. And this is one thing I really love. Okay. I'm removing segment from my legend area and I'm clicking on market. It will go to the legend. So now you can see I've got different markets of the business. And now I'm going to add the segment in the visual. So when I add the segment, it gets added to the legend. Okay. And in the y-axis, you do have market and category. I don't want market there. I'll remove it from here. And I will remove category, remove the segment from here, and category goes back to y-axis. Now, when I normally click, it goes into areas directly by itself. I will just drag and drop it to make things easier for me to work with. So here I will drag my segment into the legend. So my data is now going to break down into the three different segments, and I will drag market into small multiples. And let me show you what actually happens. And this is what the beauty of working with Power BI is. You can see one single graph is giving you all the markets data. So if I swap it, like for example, if I move the segment into the market into the legend, okay, and I bring in my segment into the small multiples area, this is how it works. Okay, so depends on what kind of analysis you want to perform. You will be able to easily perform that kind of analysis depending on what your data is. Okay, fine. Now, for now, this was just to show you how to work with a simple bar graph. Now, there are so many other graphs that are there. I'll talk about each of the graphs one by one in the upcoming days of our training. Now, what I'm interested in showing you is working with the data model. So if you see here, we've got something called as the data model, understanding the tables and fields, different types of fields that we're working with. So I've already explained that. I want to explain this creating of relationships, but this I will explain when I deal with the next topic that we are there. And I will then also introduce you to DAX and the other aspects of it in tomorrow's session. For now, let me explain a very important topic, that is the hierarchies in the data. So I'm going to go to my data here, and now I've got here category. Within category, I have got subcategories. Okay, and within the subcategory, I have got the product. So if I go back to my table view, you can see the first transaction. Let's take a very simple first transaction. Now here I've got a transaction that is for something with respect to Xerox paper. Okay, Xerox is basically a brand that sells paper as well. So here you can see Xerox 1914 is a paper. Okay, it's a paper, it's a product which is actually belonging to the paper subcategory, and this paper subcategory belongs to the office supplies category. So one category has multiple subcategories and one subcategory has multiple products. Okay, so this creates something called as a hierarchy for you, which provides you the ability to drill down and drill up into the data. Now, what is this drill down and drill up capability? Let me show you that. So first thing, in order to create a hierarchy, you can do it from the report view also by right clicking on the first level of the hierarchy and click on create hierarchy. But I don't prefer creating it from here because I cannot make a lot of changes in the hierarchy using the report view. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my model view, and in the model view, I have all the fields. Now I have only one table here. So that's why I have this one single rectangle there, which basically talks about one table. Now I've got this properties pane. Let me collapse it for now, or let's just expand it because I'll need to use this. I have got the tables and then I've got this model. Now, in the model, you can see what are the relationships, the tables that I have, the measures that I've created. Everything is going to be shown here. This is something which is relatively a new feature in Power BI. So if you've not updated and you can't see it, please make sure you update your Power BI. So going back to tables now, I'll expand orders. And here I will first select category. Right click on category and click on the option create hierarchy. So when I click on create hierarchy, what I get is a category hierarchy created. And within that, you will see there is one level. So please remember, a hierarchy has got levels in it, not fields. So I will explain the different elements of the data model when I do this. Okay. So let's go ahead and see I've got the category field. Now, once I've got the category, I need to add more levels to it. Okay. So I did explain in this product hierarchy, I will need category, subcategory, and product. So first thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the name of the hierarchy because I don't really like or prefer this name. So I'll just call this as products with an S. Okay. So this is a new hierarchy and it shifts down to where P is because this is arranged alphabetically. Now here under the products hierarchy, so when I click the hierarchy, you can see the different levels in the hierarchy mentioned here. I can click on the drop down for select a column to add to the level. And then I can go ahead and select subcategory. So this is the second level. So you can see category followed by subcategory. Now I need one more level to be added, and that is going to be the product level. So I can add product name and I can click on apply level changes. Now remember, whenever you create a hierarchy, unless and until you don't click on apply level changes, your hierarchy will not be completed. So I have got three levels: category, subcategory, and product name. Now let's say if there is a problem whilst defining the hierarchy or applying levels in the hierarchy, you can simply use this option and drag and drop or move your levels around. But the moment you change it, please remember, again, you will have to click apply level changes. Okay. Only then it will work. So if I click apply level changes, I will have category, product name, and subcategory, which is incorrect. So let me just get this back to where it was and apply level changes once again. So I've got category, subcategory, and product name applied here. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is, once I have got the hierarchy ready, I'm going to use this hierarchy inside my report view. Okay. Now I'm just taking a pause here to quickly have a look at your questions. How to apply changes permanently in Power Query Editor? B. Sarath, I don't really understand your question. When you say apply permanently, basically it means when you click apply changes, it's permanently applied. So if you want to make changes again to your data, you go back to transform data and you work with it. Okay. Uh, Another thing is, how can we find which visual is used for different data? Hold on, Chandan, and the entire set of people attending the session. I will give you all that information in tomorrow's session as to what kind of a visual to select under what circumstances. Okay. Uh, what visuals are preferred in the market? Aryan, when you say what visuals are preferred in the market, there's a very important thing you should keep in mind. Whenever you're trying to create a dashboard or whenever you're trying to create some sort of a report that requires you to set up your visuals, ensure that your visuals are clear to understand. If I create a visual which is very, very new, modern, but if it doesn't convey the message to the people, then it's of no use. So if I click on this visual library here, you can see there are so many visuals that are there. But if I pick up a visual which is maybe a complicated visual like an R visual or a Python visual or maybe some other visual, and it does not serve my purpose or it does not explain what I'm trying to showcase, then it doesn't make sense. So if you're trying to introduce a completely new visual which is very, very new in the industry or in the market, please ensure that you explain how the visual is to be read and then you use the visual in your report or in the dashboard. Please keep that in mind. Okay, fine. So yes, Sarath, I'm going to explain how hierarchy will be used Why do we do this drill down? Beauty's help you'll understand in a few minutes from now. Please give the overview of the graph, sir. How to apply what? Sabri, all in one. Please wait. You will get all the information. Okay. Thanks, Aryan, for that heart emoji. It really pumps me up and keeps me motivated to give you the best. Great. So, all of you who have got the answer to your queries or are enjoying the session, please take a spare a second and give me a quick thumbs up or a quick heart emoji that indicates that you people are enjoying and love the session. Okay, guys, please do that. Great. So we do have the newly created category, the products hierarchy available on the market now, as in it's available with us. So what we need to do is we need to see how this is to be used. So in the last 4 minutes, and you will see a beautiful visual coming up for you now. So here I'm going to click on sales. The moment I click on sales, I will have this sales visual available for me. Now this is automatically picked up a KPI visual. Now look at what happens when I click on this products hierarchy. When I click on it, you will notice that it does create a similar graph, but there are a few new buttons available here on top. And there is this down arrow, double down arrow, and this forked down arrow. All these arrows have different meanings to it. So let me quickly show you what those meanings are. Now, for all those who were wondering why we created the hierarchy, how to use it, all your questions will be answered. And if you really like the use of hierarchies in Power BI, please do mention it in a single word as to what one word to explain what is the use of hierarchy and whether you liked it and how you would be using it at your end. Okay. So look at this. Normally, okay, I'll have to create one more visual to explain to you this feature. So I will just place my cursor outside and I will create one more visual, which will show me the total sales broken down by the market. Okay. And let me just place it here somewhere so that I can see both these visuals together. Now, normally what happens if I click on any one of these bars, it filters the other chart as well. And this feature is called as cross filtering. So I need to click somewhere outside in this white area for this filter to be removed. Similarly, if I click on APAC, which is Asia Pacific market, it filters the other visual for me. So this is the normal way of working for a normal visual. Now, in this case, if I try to click in the white space here, it didn't change because the filter was applied from here. I'll show it to you again. If I click here, this is also being filtered. But if I click in the white space here, nothing happens to either of them because the filter is applied from here and it is propagated to the other side. Clear? That is the other visual. Now look at this. Can you just show the KPI card for the categorical variable? Pavan, KPI cards are not used for categorical variables because KPI cards are specifically used for numbers. They just show you a single number. Yes, you can use it for a categorical variable, but a categorical variable, when used with the KPI card, it will show you only the count. Because remember, categorical variables cannot be aggregated and cannot be measured. I did mention this before as well, right? So please keep that in mind. Okay, great. So I do have a few people who have been motivating enough and they've given me. Now comes the beauty of working with this drill down capability. So stay tuned to this. When I click this button, click to turn drill down on, and when I click on this particular technology, what it does is it drills down to the next level. And what is the next level? Quickly, come on, give me an answer. What is the next level? So I have category, and then what is the next level, everyone? So the next level is subcategory. So you can see here, I'm having the data drilled down to subcategory level. Now, if I click on phones, it further drills down to the product level, but only for phones. Okay. Now, if I want to drill back up to the next level, very good, very good. So if I want to drill back to the next level, I want to go back to the upper levels, I can just click on drill up. It will drill up to the upper levels. And here I can drill back up to the top level of my hierarchy. This is the first one. Now let's click on the second one. Go to the next level in the hierarchy. So when I click on this, it allows me to go to the next level in the hierarchy. I can switch off this. So this gives me all the subcategories. In the previous situation, it was only giving me subcategories pertaining to technology. If I click on the next level once again, this takes me to the products level, but all the products in the data. Okay. And the third button that you see here is basically to expand everything down to the next level. So if I click this, it gives me all the subcategories, but it shows me the, so if I just go to this button here, focus mode, it shows me all the subcategories based on the different categories as well, subcategories based on the categories. If I click once more, this will give me all the products, but when I look at this visual, I will be able to backtrack. Okay, this is Apple smartphone full size, which is part of phone subcategory and belongs to the technology category. Okay, so this is how you use the drill down capabilities with respect to your hierarchies in the data. Okay, now if you look at this data, there is one more hierarchy that can be created, okay, in the data, which is going to be a geographical hierarchy. Can anybody okay, so Sakshi Verma, I don't understand. What is it that you haven't understood? Please put it in the chat box. Okay, so for the folk one, again, I'm showing it to you. When I click on this, you will go to the next level, but you will be able to track what is the next level. So for example, phones and copiers belong to technology. When I go one more level down, you can see Apple smartphone full size belongs to phones, which in turn belongs to the technology category. So outermost is category, then inside is subcategory, and the innermost is the product itself. Okay, so let me just go back up and I'll go back to the report view. Okay, now there's one more hierarchy that can be used over here, and that hierarchy is according to the model view. You can see from this, you've got one more hierarchy that can be created. That is the geographical hierarchy. So what you need to do is, you need to try and identify what is the geographical hierarchy and come in for the session tomorrow, because we are already running out of time. It's already 7:02. I will need to close the session. So a quick feedback from all of you, one line or one word feedback. How was today's session? Quickly, come on. So how was today's session, everyone? Great. Okay, so I do have a feeling that people are coping up with what's happening today. So tomorrow I will move a little bit more in detail into this, and then we'll move to the next case study where I will explain to you how to work with relationships, and then we'll move into a little bit more complex case study where we will be talking about some more important areas in it. Okay, so I will cover all the topics given to you for coverage, but please make sure that you people are tuned for all the days. Don't miss out even a single day. Share this link with all your friends. Ask them to come subscribe to the channel, and make sure you people look out for, even there are a lot of other boot camps that are offered. These boot camps are there for, you know, your benefit. So take the most benefit out of it, and they're absolutely free. So please connect with Let's Upgrade again. If you need anything for all your tech needs, we are there to help you. Okay. So thank you, everyone. I will be closing the session for now. Thank you.